What if I told you that your emotions aren't just feelings? They're actually the fuel that makes your belief system real. And what's even more surprising, when you learn to neutralize negative emotions, you don't become emotionless, you become more compassionate. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Self Love First. My name is Alicia, and I thank you for tuning in to today's video. Stick around because today we are diving deep into the relationship between emotions, viewpoints, and why personal development can sometimes feel so hard. Please go ahead and hit that like button. It's a free and easy way to support my channel, and it makes a huge difference. Thank you. Today we're exploring something fundamental to being human: emotions. By the end of this video, you'll understand why you feel what you feel, why it's so hard to change how you see things, and most importantly, how to work with your emotions instead of against them. So let's start with a big question. What are emotions? Here's the key insight. Emotions are responses to viewpoints. Let me explain what that means. Think about it this way. If you see something as beautiful, you'll feel one way. If you see that same thing as ugly, you'll feel completely different. The object itself didn't change, your viewpoint did. And with that viewpoint came a different emotion. These viewpoints we're talking about, we can call them beliefs. We can also call them identities or parts of ourselves. Each one comes with its own emotional signature. Emotions do three critical things. First, they're indicators. They flag which viewpoint you're currently operating from. If you're feeling anxious, that's telling you that something about how you're viewing a situation. Second, they motivate your action. Emotions are literally the fuel that makes you take things seriously. Think about it. If you had zero emotion about something, would you really take action? Probably not. The emotion makes it feel real and important. Third, and this is crucial, emotions increase the realness of a viewpoint. The more emotion attached to something, the more real it seems. And here's where it gets tricky. The more real a viewpoint seems, the more emotion gets attached to it. It's a self-reinforcing cycle. And this brings us to why personal development can feel so challenging. The whole point of personal growth is to change the way that we look at things, right? To see ourselves differently, to see life differently. But here's the problem. We get stuck in certain viewpoints. And those viewpoints are supercharged with emotion. That emotion makes the viewpoint feel like the truth, like the only valid way to see things. So we stay there. We take action from that viewpoint, and we let the emotion convince us that that's just how things are. But what if I told you that that's not the truth? That it's just one way to look at it. A viewpoint fueled by emotion that feels serious and real. Now, here's where things get really interesting and honestly, kind of beautiful. When you neutralize emotions, when you learn to look at something without judgment of any kind, something unexpected happens. You don't become cold or robotic. You don't stop caring. Actually, the opposite happens. You become more compassionate, more curious, more appreciative. You naturally start practicing virtues like care and patience. Think about what this means. It suggests that our natural state when we quiet down all of the mental judgment and labeling, is actually compassionate and virtuous. This goes against a lot of philosophies that say that humans are naturally selfish. And sure, our egos might be naturally selfish. Our minds default to judgment. But when you quiet that down, you're naturally kind. Positive psychology has found the same thing. When people are happier, more creative, more at peace, they become more accepting, more team-oriented, more generous. So here's the practical takeaway. Emotions are actually really useful flags for our personal development work. Because here's the thing. It's usually easier to notice an emotion than it is to notice a belief or a viewpoint. You can feel anxiety before you identify the belief that's causing it. So you can kind of trace backwards, find the emotion first, neutralize it, and you'll actually be neutralizing the beliefs and resistances connected to that viewpoint. It's like emotions are the breadcrumbs that lead you back to the hidden beliefs that are running your life. Let me show you how emotions tend to organize themselves into two categories. And before you worry, this isn't about being good or bad. It's just a useful way to map the territory. On one side, we have what we'll call virtuous emotions: compassion, patience, care, discipline, humility, gratitude, generosity, responsibility. And on the other side, we'll have what we'll call vices: hatred, rushing, ignoring, reactivity, over or under self-assessment, criticism, selfishness, blame. Notice how they're kind of opposites? Each virtue has a corresponding vice. Now, here's what's important to understand. When we don't manage our minds, when we don't take responsibility for our mental creations and memories, we naturally tend toward the vice side. It's not because we're bad people. It's just what happens when unprocessed memories and stuck viewpoints are running the show. We're more likely to feel anger or to rush, to criticize, or to blame. But, and this is huge, when you start handling those memories, when you free up your mental focus, when you release old identities that needed to be let go, you naturally shift to the virtuous side. You feel more compassion without trying, more patience, more discipline, more gratitude. And it's not forced. It's what emerges when the old stuck patterns are released. This actually gives us a really useful indicator. How do you know when you're done with a personal development session? Ask yourself, am I feeling reactive, critical, or stuck? Or am I feeling relaxed, patient, and compassionate? Do I feel like I have free mental space? Or am I still caught up in old patterns? Now, I want to be really clear about something. There's no battle between virtues and vices. We're not trying to destroy one side to make room for the other. The goal is actually to become okay with both, to accept them. Because when you're truly okay with them, when you can accept even hatred or reactivity without resistance, then you can fully neutralize them and naturally choose differently. Sometimes we actually resist virtuous activity. Sometimes we have trouble being compassionate because we have beliefs that contradict compassion. Some people think, if I accept hatred, won't I just allow it to perpetuate in my life. But that's not how acceptance works. Real acceptance means seeing something as it is, neutrally, without attachment, and then acting appropriately. There's a separation there. You're not becoming the thing, you're just no longer fighting it, which paradoxically gives you more power over it. So, how do you actually work with your emotions? There's a two-step process, and it works differently for virtues and vices. Step one is the same for both. You need to handle any resistance to experiencing the emotion. Let's say you're working with a virtue like compassion. If you have any resistance to feeling compassionate, maybe you think that compassion makes you weak or that you'll be taken advantage of. So you need to handle that first because you can't truly experience something that you're resisting. The same goes for vices. If you're judging hatred, if you're resisting feeling angry or rushed or critical, you'll never be able to face those emotions. You'll keep pushing them away, maybe even making them dormant. And here's the truth: you can't neutralize something that you can't experience. You've probably heard that saying, the truth will set you free. The truth is actually allowing yourself to see and experience whatever it is that you're feeling, whatever emotion and therefore viewpoint that you're having. So, first, for both virtues and vices, release the resistance to experiencing it. Step two is where things differ. For vices, once you're okay with feeling it, you want to handle the viewpoints and beliefs that perpetuate it. You explore, what beliefs keep this hatred going? What parts of me are invested in staying angry? Then you neutralize those. For virtues, once you're okay with feeling it, you want to reinforce it. You create or strengthen the viewpoints, beliefs, and parts that perpetuate compassion, patience, discipline. You're building them up instead of tearing them down. Same first step, different second step. Make sense? Now, in practice, there are organized charts of high emotions, things like excited, joyful, clear, grateful, and low emotions, things like sad, fearful, angry, or ashamed. In MAP, you can work with these in two ways. The conscious way, you and your client identify which emotions are most present. For example, I've been feeling angry and frustrated a lot. And then you work directly with those. And then there's the subconscious way. You use muscle checking or intuition to identify which emotion needs attention, even if the person isn't consciously aware of it. Maybe they think that they're angry, but fear is actually underneath driving it. Both approaches are valid. Conscious work tends to be more quantity. You might work through several emotions in a single session. Subconscious work tends to be more quality. You'll find one or two deep things and really process them. There's fascinating research from positive psychology, excuse me, suggesting that to thrive, you want to feel about 3 to 4 positive emotions for every one negative emotion. That's the ratio where people really seem to flourish. So, one approach to personal development could be track your emotional ratio. How often are you feeling positive versus negative emotions? Then work to shift that ratio, not by suppressing the negative, but by truly neutralizing. the stuck viewpoints that's creating them. Let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture of what we're covering. Emotions and viewpoints are intimately connected. They're like two sides of the same coin. The emotion makes the viewpoint feel real. The viewpoint generates the emotion. Round and round they go, creating self-reinforcing feedback loops. Personal development is fundamentally about changing viewpoints so that we can feel differently. And feeling differently so we can see new viewpoints. And here's the beautiful part. You don't have to force yourself to be different. You don't have to try really hard to be compassionate or patient or grateful. When you neutralize stuck emotions and release old viewpoints, those qualities emerge naturally. It's like they were there all along, just buried under layers of unprocessed stuff. Your mind, in its natural, quiet state, is creative, compassionate, curious, and clear. All the judgment, criticism, rushing, and reactivity, that's what happens when the mind is cluttered and stuck. So the path isn't about becoming a different person. It's about clearing away what's in the way of who you naturally are. It's about learning to work with your emotions instead of against them. Using them as guides, as breadcrumbs, leading you back to the beliefs and the viewpoints that need your attention. And then, when you find those beliefs, not fighting them or condemning them, but accepting them, neutralizing them, and choosing something different. Let's focus for a moment on the key takeaways. Emotions are responses to viewpoints. Change the viewpoint, and you'll change the emotion. The emotion-viewpoint loop is self-reinforcing, which is why personal development can feel so hard sometimes. But it also means that when you intervene at either point, whether it's emotion or viewpoint, you can break that cycle. Your natural state, when you're not caught in judgment and stuck patterns, is compassionate and virtuous. You don't have to force it. The way to work with emotions isn't to suppress them or fight them. It's to first accept them fully, and then address the viewpoints that's perpetuating the ones that you don't want to feel. Use emotions as guides. They're easier to spot than beliefs, so they can lead you to the deeper work. So here's my challenge for you. This week, when you notice a strong emotion, instead of just reacting to it or trying to push it away, get curious. Ask yourself, what viewpoint is creating this emotion? How am I seeing this situation? Is there another way to look at it? You might be surprised by what you discover. There are links in the pinned comment below to my website with a bunch of free resources. Or if you'd like to schedule yourself a map session one-on-one with me to reshape your unconscious programming. If you found this valuable, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content on personal development, emotional mastery, and understanding how your mind works. Do me a favor and drop a comment below. What's one emotion that you'd like to understand better? What's one stuck viewpoint that you're working on releasing? Thank you for watching. And as always, self-love first, always. Have a fantastic rest of your day. I will see you in the next video. And also have a very happy and prosperous new year. Thanks so much, guys. Take care.